Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest issue of Comic Book Gentlemen, the podcast where we use our decades of being giant nerds to discuss the most divisive issues in the nerddom. I'm your host, Greg, joined by my constant co-host, Dave.
Greg, how are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
It's been a while.
It's been a while,
There's
yeah.
a lot of stuff to talk about.
A lot of stuff to talk about. So sorry, everybody, that we missed last month's podcast. However, that means we're going into our Super Spring 2022 recap.
Yeah, I love that we didn't even have to spend any money on that sound effect.
No.
You just had it ready to go.
I'm ready to go. You know, I'm super hyped. We got lots to talk about.
Love it.
We're talking The Batman, which came out March 4th. Freaking over 2 months ago.
2 months ago.
Which is crazy because it's already on HBO Max. Like, usually this, I think No Way Home was 6 months before it finally came out.
So anybody that wanted to go see it should just be finishing watching it now.
Again. Yeah, for the second or third time. So we're going to talk The Batman. We're going to talk Moon Knight, which came on Disney+. We're going to talk about Dave actually went to a fan expo / Comic-Con in Calgary. So we're going to get his on the street reporting of what happened, what was awesome, and all that stuff. And then finally, we're going to finish it off with Doctor Strange, which just came out last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago at this point. Man, time flies when you're having fun, I guess. If only we were having fun. Just kidding. Just kidding. So let's start at the top with Batman. Do you remember this movie from 2 months ago?
Yes.
Okay,
because it can't help but be ingrained in your memory sitting through a movie that long.
Dude, 3 hours. When I heard it was 3 hours long, I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna pee myself.
I was surprised I got my wife to join me.
Yeah, jeez.
At a 3 hour movie.
My wife,
a superhero movie to boot.
Yeah, my wife was like, no way in hell. Call me when it's on HBO. We'll watch, which we did end up watching it again. She had a good time. Well, we could pause it, so she's like, this is fine. But what was? I guess we'll back up a little bit. What was your kind of build up? What's your what's your kind of expectation for this movie and build up to it leading into it?
I was expecting as far as DC movies, a rebound, because for whatever reason they managed to rebound with Batman movies. So I was expecting a good movie based on a lot of the interviews I'd seen with the directors and the writers and the cast. It sounded like they were really trying to get to the root of Batman as a detective. It was going to take place a little bit more in his kind of younger years. When you got the Riddler, you're going to have lots of,
riddles.
Riddles and mystery and whatever else they managed to chuck in there. So I was excited to see it, but not like chomping at the bit, because again, it was just another Batman movie, and I was fearing going oh yeah, I'm gonna sit through his parents died, and, the whole thing again.
Yeah.
But I was still excited, just not over the moon. Hey, I'm chomping at the bit to go see it.
I was pretty excited. I think the way they described it, like you were saying, the cast who was involved and whatnot, the way they were hyping it up sounded straight up my alley. A lot of my favorite Batman stories, a lot more of the grittier ones, and especially the trailers, they looked super gritty. It was hard not to compare it to Christopher Nolan, because it it looked like it was going to have a lot of that realism factor of it, compared to the Tim Burton and the crazy 90s ones that were just off the wall. Yeah, the off the wall insane. So it definitely looked like it was still leaning towards that more realistic side. So I was like, okay, how's this going to compare to the Nolan trilogy and go forward? But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I actually saw it with my brother and then a couple friends of ours.
Yeah.
It was interesting though coming out of the movie, because at first, watching the movie, I thought the production on the movie was amazing. The sound design, I've never sat in a movie and go wow, the sound design was amazing. But for this one, I was when the engine revs up on the Batmobile, you can feel the whole theater shake. Everything about that, the tone of it, I just came out of the theater, I was yeah, that was great, so good, I loved it. And then my brother and I actually spent an hour in his driveway talking about everything that was terrible about it. So it was...
That's what we gravitate to.
Yeah, it was interesting though, because he does not like it
really?
as much as you and I do, I think. Because it's very interesting, because he just started pointing out all the things where it's it's Batman. You expect him to be able to do this. You expect the Batman who whispers one word and then the bad guy goes running. But this is a very different Batman in the sense of like you said, really early in his career, way more emo. With Robert Pattinson, he's a way more emo version of him. And whatnot. And then you had the Riddler was interesting. because like
Yeah.
I think Riddler's tough because I mean the main Riddler you have from the big screen is Jim Carrey's Riddler, so you're going off that which is completely opposite of that, and I think it was especially it's really easy to compare him to the Joker from Dark Knight and whatnot, how just psycho and in his head and cerebral it was, but there was no like that hardcore riddles, it felt like.
No.
And it had to be a serial killer, as opposed to like just a bank robber or something like that. It's like, we have to go dark and murdery and whatnot. So it was very interesting that route. So come after that, I was like a little bit down on it. I was like, oh, maybe it wasn't that good. Maybe I'm wrong. But then I started thinking about it more, and then it came out on HBO Max like or whatever it's called, like a month later, which is crazy. And I watched it again. And I think the thing for me is that there's so many different versions of the Batman. There's the Batman you get in like the year one Batman where he's just learning what he's doing and all that stuff. But then you have like the campy 60s Batman who's all goofy. But then you have like the Justice League animated series Batman who is able to stand toe to toe with Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern as this like serious threat. And I think when you realize what Matt Reeves was doing in the sense of like young Batman, super edgy, F you dad to Alfred type of thing, it makes a lot more sense for the story.
Yeah.
And I think if you're looking at it from that mindset, the movie's a lot better. Whereas if you're like my brother who's like, I expect Batman to be able to jump off a building and not get slammed by a semi-truck 50 times, type of thing, it was a disappointment because it was like, oh, that's not my Batman type of thing. But sorry, I rambled a lot on that. What was your thoughts?
I mean, my thoughts, I really quite enjoyed it. I was happy with Pattinson's Batman.
Yeah.
I like the fact that he could still have that. The one thing that stuck out to me was like he had a good Batman voice without doing that the Christian Bale thing,
or the Ben Affleck,
or the Ben Affleck. Like he just did it was just low and intentful, and it was like intense, but very calm. Mm-hmm. He just did a good job, and you didn't see a lot of Bruce Wayne, so you didn't have to hash out like was he a good Bruce Wayne or not really,
because there was no Bruce Wayne.
It was basically Batman the whole time. I thought the cast was great. To your point, a lot of the cinematography was fantastic. I liked the grittiness, but it didn't feel like it felt gritty, but it felt I guess less gritty but more dark.
Yeah,
I guess is the way I want to describe it. To your point, like I was expecting more of a mystery kind of thing, and it became less of mystery and more of like a we gotta figure out who he's gonna kill next kind of thing.
Yeah, or wait till he kills somebody.
Yeah,
then go.
which was okay. It still worked for what they were doing. But when it got out of the theater, it was like, holy cow, that was a long movie. But as I reflected back on it, it was like, if it was any shorter, I don't know if it would have been good.
Yeah,
it was just like it was long, but it made sense.
I think there's a couple things you could have trimmed down because I have watched it twice now.
Sure.
Like there's the scene where he's watching Catwoman change for the first time, and that goes on for a while.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we're getting a little creepy here. Admittedly, like I understand what they were trying to do was like show how close he was to the Riddler, because you had the scene with the Riddler where he also watched that guy for too long and really creepily, and it kind of was supposed to be like is Batman a little too close? Are they the same type of thing? But I mean, I feel like you could have trimmed that down a couple minutes there. But yeah, but as a whole, I think it ended up working out type of thing.
Yeah,
I think my biggest I think like we were talking about with the grittiness, I think it's a really good mix of Nolan realism mixed with Tim Burton dark, like because Tim Burton is way more like goth, but then it's like a good mix of that where it's like not trying to be 100% realistic like Nolan, but and still have that kind of like flair of like Penguin, hey, take it easy, and cheesiness there, and like you had him again bounce off a semi truck and keep moving, type of thing. So I thought it was a pretty good mix of that.
By the way, it has to be one of the greatest makeup jobs ever done on a human being.
Oh, Colin Farrell,
like
dude, he's a different person.
Amazing.
It's insane. Like if you didn't tell me that was Colin Farrell, never would have guessed in a million years. Like it's crazy. I think my biggest downside to the movie is Jim Gordon. So one of my favorite renditions of Jim Gordon in the comic books is Year One, because Year One is a very obviously it's a Batman story, but Jim Gordon is a huge character in that, and it really goes to show that without Jim Gordon, there's no way Batman would have been able to be as successful as he is, because he needs Jim to be in the room to tell the police officers, like, give him a chance, like we do. And obviously that happens in The Batman. My problem with it is, like, he's so inept. Like, I can't think of a scene in that movie other than when he helps him escape prison where Jim Gordon actually did something to help Batman solve the case. Like, he literally just goes to everything that happens, he turns to Batman and go, like, what do you think? Like, literally everything. He doesn't say anything that helps this entire case. Like, even the whole Alada or whatever it was, it's literally the Penguin that solves it because Jim and him cannot figure it out. And it was just it was a little bit goofy. And I love the guy who they got to play Jim. I can't remember his name, but he's a great actor. Yeah. But it was just the way they wrote the character to me was just such a weird, like, yes man to Batman all the time. Yeah. And the fact that, like, all the corrupt police officers just kept letting him get away with it. Yeah. Of, like, yeah, let Batman in here, let Batman. And they kept going, like, oh, we're old friends, Jim, you know, I'll let this slide this one time. But in year one, it's the cops actually try to kill Jim because he's trying to convert, you know, the police back to the good side type of thing. So it's just, again, it's just one of those things where it's like they completely change Jim Gordon to, like, this weird nothing character. I don't know if you noticed that, but
I didn't notice that so much with Jim Gordon. And again, I think, like, I like the actor, and he just wasn't in it enough for me to really make an impact, almost to the same level as Alfred. Like, I felt like that felt a little like they maybe could have used some of that, you know, like, I'm, you know, spying on you through the window time to build more of that contentious relationship that he had with Alfred, to really kind of pound home the ending of the movie. But outside of that, like, the one that I was kind of or got pointed out to me actually was Catwoman. One of the people we went to see the movie with, or had seen it after us, they were like, you know, yeah, it was good, we liked it, and she said, except one thing, I have one thing to complain about. Why does Catwoman have such long fingernails? And then I was like, what, really? And then I went back and kind of looked through some clips on YouTube and stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, that kind of looks ridiculous. Like, like, for somebody that's going to go and, you know, possibly punch somebody in the face, you're wearing, you know, like, inch and a half long fingernails. Well,
those are her claws, you know? Like, part of her weapon.
It just, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of one of those. But I mean, I actually didn't mind the actress that played her. I thought that was good. It was just, I was pleasantly surprised coming out of that movie that I was like, I would watch that again, and I hope they do another one.
I do highly recommend watching it again, because I did, like, I was kind of telling you a little bit earlier, is like, I did notice a lot of more subtle things about the story that you kind of notice more on the second watch. Like, one of the big themes of the movie, and it's interesting because it's a big theme with Batman, is part of the reason he becomes Batman, and they talk about this in Nolan, and they talk about this in Year One, and a lot of other Batman ones, is because he's supposed to be the symbol of fear. Like, he was afraid of bats or whatever, or whatever the origin is, and then he uses that to then scare the other criminals. And he even does that in the beginning of the movie. He talks about, like, oh, it doesn't matter where I am because people assume I'm coming for them.
That I could be there.
But then one of the things they do throughout the movie is he learns that you can't just be the symbol of fear anymore, because what fear does is it leads to anger, which leads to hate, which leads to suffering, type of thing, the whole Yoda aspect. Because even the guy he saves at the beginning on the train thought he was gonna then mug him, type of thing. And it's one of those things where it's like, you're supposed to be a hero who
like, the criminals fear you.
Yeah,
but so does everybody else.
So does everybody else, type of thing. And it's like, and at first he's like, I don't care, and that's what Alfred's trying to tell him. Is like, you got to care a little bit. And it's like, no, I just want vengeance. I mean, you consumed by that. And then even
he was vengeance.
Yeah, I'm vengeance, or he's Batman. No, I'm vengeance. He kept flip flopping on the name, type of thing. But then as you go throughout the movie, even the Riddler was like, dude, I love you. You're great. We want the exact same thing, right? Because he built this symbol of fear that then inspired, instead of inspiring hope and inspiring whatever that Superman's supposed to do, he then inspired more people to be like him, trying to get vengeance. But Riddler did it in a psychotic way, and then he then inspired even more, January 6th gonna storm the White House Capitol people to go shoot the mayor, type of thing, and blow up the thing. And it's interesting to see. And then again, that's the end scene where he's getting everybody out of the water. Everybody was afraid of him, even though he's trying to freaking save all their lives. They're still terrified of him until the kid comes and is like, okay, you're cool. And I think it's a very interesting, subtle storytelling they do throughout the movie.
Yeah. And I appreciated the realism on the side of like what a beating he took in a lot of the fights and stuff, where some of the stunts that he was doing, like he wasn't just like the perfect acrobat,
No.
or the perfect whatever he was doing at that time. It like there were just slip ups, and it made him feel more human and more real. And I thought when he jumped off the top of the building there, and it was just like basically a squirrel suit, and I was like, this is probably the most realistic I've seen with like Batman gadgets, because they're just like it's real shit.
But then it immediately turns into the unrealistic of him bouncing off a semi truck and then immediately walking away, which makes no sense.
No,
like there's no way you'd be
really
walking.
Tough.
He's really tough. He's got a lot of body armor, which makes no sense. But that was the funniest scene in the whole movie.
Oh yeah.
Because again, you're pitching this perfect Batman. Like Bale would never do that.
No.
Bale would have perfectly glided through everything and gotten there. But literally bounces so many times. It's so funny, and it really reiterates the thing. But yeah, I think like you said too, like this was such a refreshing move for DC, because I mean they had the Nolan trilogy, it was so good, then they just the craziest roller coaster fall into oblivion with Affleck and Snyder and all that stuff.
I have hopes for their Black Adam.
Yep.
I really honestly, as much as they hype it, I could care less about the Flash movie. I just don't. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the Flash is the guy that plays him in the TV series. I like that guy so much. But the Flash, I'm not really interested in. Aquaman 2, I'm not really interested in. Like, and I hope that they find their groove.
Yeah.
Because they're just this slump that they've been in has just been brutal. But the Batman was a good uptick.
Yeah. So apparently their plan going forward is they're going to have... Penguin's going to have his own show, and Gordon's going to have his own show, and they're going to kind of explore that more, and then eventually they're going to go into the Batman 2 with whatever storyline they're going to go. So kind of what are you kind of hoping for going forward? Like, and the other question is like, are they going to try to make the Reeves universe, I say that in air quotes, the overall universe like they were doing with Snyder, or do you think they're going to start doing all these pocket things?
Yeah, I think I hope they make it the I guess the main, like if they're going to use Batman going forward in any other movies, I hope they kind of churn forward with this. I don't know how it works, because like you've got like Aquaman's already been with the Ben Affleck one, it's going to be very jumbled moving forward. From that perspective, like maybe they'll bring, I guess for that kind of thing, they'll bring Ben Affleck back to just because
I don't think they can give him enough money. But
I don't know, but like I hope it sticks. I'd like to see at least a trilogy out of this crew, because the first one was good. Let's give them the second one. Out of the second one, I don't want to see the Joker ever again.
I'm good.
I'm okay with the little, semi cameos of him in jail and just kind of, whoever that actor is will never get recognized for, playing him. But I don't want to see him, because I just think anything they do is going to immediately get compared to The Dark Knight.
Yep.
And that is, it's in my opinion, a tall order to stand up to.
Yeah.
And it's just, you're just running a risk, like especially with a plethora of rogues that you could pick from. Like pick some other guys that just really haven't been utilized.
Like somebody pointed out the other day, I think it was another podcast I was listening to, they haven't done Freeze or Ivy since the terrible Batman and Robin movie.
Yeah.
Those are two amazing characters
you could
they
do
haven't
Hush.
touched. Yeah.
You could do like there's other ones that they could bring in to
100%.
To just do the same thing, and then you know what? You've got a fresh take on a fresh villain, and you're not worried about that comparison.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm hoping for.
I would love to see Reeves do anybody other than Joker. Because, I mean, like I said, I wasn't a big fan of what they did with the Riddler, because it felt too... Like, I see what they were trying to do. It just felt too generic, in my opinion, of, like, that could have been any villain. It didn't make sense that it was the Riddler.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, him doing Freeze, or, like, him doing, like, Bane... Like, I mean, Bane they did recently, but, like, him doing Court of Owls. Apparently, him and Pattinson both love Court of Owls.
Yeah, that would be wicked.
So them would be so cool. But you can even incorporate, like, Court of Owls in with so many other characters. It's just such an easy thing. I think they've teased the Joker thing. I definitely don't want it for the second movie. I think what they'll start doing is, you know, in the second movie they'll choose a couple more villains, start integrating that, see what happens, and then Joker will kind of like amass his own like evil, you know, group cabal, and then they all go after Batman in the third movie. I think might be interesting because then you kind of see like, and maybe at that point Batman has like Robin or Batgirl or something like that, so they kind of have like a bigger battle type of thing. Like I think that'd be very interesting. Like, if you're gonna go Joker, at least make it different than what they did with. Try to be different than what they did in Dark Knight type of thing. And I think by making it a group dynamic, and they kind of hinted at that with him and Riddler, right? So I think that'd be interesting. I think at this point DC, there's no way they can become Marvel. I mean, they've tried it. It's gonna fail.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
I'll counter that later on in this podcast.
Okay, fair enough. But like what I was gonna say was like I don't think you can do the interwoven. There's a grand plan thing like they were trying to do with Snyder anymore. I think it's like just let everybody do their own thing.
Yeah.
Don't worry about trying to get everything to be connected. The fans aren't that stupid. They'll be fine, you know, type of thing. Enough people know what comic books are nowadays to kind of just, you know, they'll live, you know, type of thing. So if Aquaman's way on the corner doing his own thing, Batman's doing his own thing, Wonder Woman's doing her own thing, hey, we're good, you know, type of thing. So I think that'd be really cool. Any last thoughts on the Batman?
No, like I said, it was I would recommend. Like I've already recommended it to a bunch of friends that hadn't seen it. The ones that did go see it came back out saying, "Hey, actually, I really like that." I was very skeptical going in. My wife actually said, she summed it up by saying, "I went in purposely trying to hate the movie because she liked the Christian Bale, you know, the Dark Knight series." And then she came out and she's like, "But I just found myself like, you know, partway through it, just going like, oh, this is actually a really good movie."
Yeah, and like I said, like even with my brothers like pointing out all the issues and whatnot, I still enjoyed it because I feel like even with its flaws, it's such a good produced movie that it's just all around a good time type of thing. So definitely go check it out. It's a good time. Moving on to our next Super Spring 2022 recap. The next thing that came up end of March was Moon Knight. So again, what was kind of your thought process leading into Moon Knight? What were you expecting?
I was expecting nothing because I didn't know what they were going to do. Like obviously you saw stuff in the trailers and stuff, but I didn't know. Like just with some of the character changes that they've made in the Marvel universe, like I just really didn't know what to expect as far as like what you were going to see. Yeah. Because in all honesty, Moon Knight's been everything from the, Marvel Batman to, something completely different.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't, I really had no expectations in the sense of like, oh, I hope it goes here or I hope it goes there.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Which is good. I think we're now at the point with Marvel where I was just watching a video on it was Honest Trailers Moon Knight, and they literally made the joke of like, we've gone through all the A-list characters, we've gone through all the B-list characters, we've gone through all the everybody. Mm-hmm. Now it's Moon Knight. And like Moon Knight's a pretty popular character nowadays. I feel like a lot of people do recognize him as a good character, but like he's not Iron Man, he's not Hulk, he's not Spider-Man type of thing. So it's pretty funny that we're now at the point with Marvel that it's just all these randos that you would never see in a million years you would see on big screen or small screen. Me going in with it, I was just praying for Oscar Isaac's sake that this was good. Because, like, you had X-Men Apocalypse, which was a shit show. You had him in the Star Wars sequels, which the first one was good, but then the other two were so bad. And you just look in this guy like, how did they convince you to sign on for this movie after all the shit you've been through? So I was just hoping so well to be good. But yeah, I actually liked it quite a bit. I think it's the same thing that I have an issue with a lot of the Disney Plus shows, where it starts off really strong because it has all the possibilities of like, oh, what could it be? Where is it going? You know, you have this week to week thing, but then as it goes along, it kind of starts trailing off a little bit. But like in general, I thought Oscar Isaac was amazing.
He was amazing.
Amazing. I thought the design, like Khonshu, was really great. I thought Ethan Hawke was really cool. At least in the beginning, he got a little bit. They didn't focus on like he's not in the last like 3 episodes, type of thing. Really, but like it had a really cool, like design on everything, and like the whole, him blacking out and going like, what the hell happened? It was a good gimmick at first, and it was a good way to get you into the show. So kind of what were your thoughts as we kind of go into the show?
Like when we went in, I thought the first episode was just absolutely amazing. Especially watching it with some people that had like really didn't know Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And they were just like, oh my god, like that was so much fun, with the blacking out and then the waking up and like all that kind of drama that was going on. I really enjoyed the back and forth between really Khonshu and anybody. The whole setup for it was really quite cool. Ethan Hawke was an amazing cult leader.
Yeah.
Say that again.
Yeah.
It was just, I really enjoyed it. I would say, again, like I'm finding most things, most of these series, I wasn't overly thrilled with the ending.
Yeah.
Per se, except for the after credits ending, which
is what everybody wanted.
Which really picked it up. But yeah, it was just there were elements in there. There was like a little bit of everything. There was some like really cool fighting. There was a little bit of mystery, like what the hell's going on and who are these personalities and what's what. It had some definite humor with when they were dead and on the ship. But it just again, I just felt like it just didn't quite hit the apex for an ending that I was expecting, but it was still very entertaining. Very much enjoyed the entire series.
Yeah, like it had action, it had comedy, it had heart. It's kind of like everything you want. I think the biggest downside to it is just the ending. We were just kind of, because I think, in my opinion, this is the biggest downside to the weekly format. Is it just lets people go wild with what could be. And everybody's what could be is always going to be better than what actually happens. I guess 9 times out of 10. There's always a chance that they do something better. But 9 times out of 10, the possibilities are always more than the actual what they give you. Because they always want to hedge their bets, or they never go full for it, or they want to make sure they have room for season 2, type of thing. And it just, I think, I can see why Disney will never change, because having the weekly thing gives them so much press and publicity of people, everybody on Twitter giving their theories, and
talking
every week, every single day talking about it. And I get why they won't, but I wish it would just drop so you could go take it as its whole. You don't have this crazy but what if they do this at the last episode? Because that last episode is not as bad as Hawkeye.
No,
but I can't believe they did the blackout thing again for the final battle. They do this huge build-up of Khonshu's versus Amit in the sky punching each other, which was rad as hell. But then you had Ethan Hawke's powered up. You have him fully embracing the Moon Knight and Mr. Knight personas. You have Layla becoming a superhero as well.
Yeah.
Then you just black out for the final battle. That made me so mad.
I mean, it could be definitely viewed. I could see where you're saying okay, it's the final battle. Let's see some, some Moon Knight fighting and taking some stuff out. But knowing when they came back and they were looking around and then they're what did you do? I didn't do this.
Yeah.
Are you sure you didn't do it? It was, again, knowing the character and knowing that Jake Lockley was there somewhere.
100%.
It was just I know who did it.
I know,
but not being able to see it, I know what you mean in the
because again, they already had done that when they were when they're doing the scene in Cairo. I think it's Cairo, or at least somewhere in Egypt, where
they're on the rooftop.
Yeah, they do the rooftop, and then he goes oh, I don't want to fight you guys, and lets them go. But then he goes oh no, I do want to fight you guys, and what the hell? And then he murders them. They do the Jake Lockley scene there, so I was expecting Jake Lockley at least a episode or 2 before the end type of thing.
Yeah.
So to me, the fact that they didn't, they saved it till after the show ended, and then like you said, did the end credit thing with Jake Lockley. To me, was a big letdown.
I liked it.
I mean, admittedly, it's interesting. Somebody pointed this out, where apparently, because they haven't officially announced season 2 yet.
No.
But apparently, excuse me, sorry, that was really terrible for a podcast.
Yeah.
Apparently for, it's either Oscars or Emmys or something like that.
Yeah.
There's a special category where if you call yourself a limited series, you have a more likely chance to win awards.
Oh, wow.
Because the Academy is it's a limited series, so we're never going to see this again, so we should give them awards now. Whereas if you're a show, they're you'll be here for a couple seasons, maybe in a couple of years we'll give you an award.
Yeah.
And apparently that's kind of what they're gunning, the rumor is that's what they're gunning for, is if we keep saying it's a limited series, then Oscar Isaac will get his thing. And it's just that's such BS. Just say there's a season 2, we all know there's a season 2, and commit to it,
I mean, awards aside, I mean, he did, both him and Ethan Hawke were amazing.
Oh yeah.
I would say definitely he was Oscar Isaac was better just because you saw more of him.
Yeah, and him doing three different characters.
He's doing three different characters, and slipping back and forth between each one, sometimes in the same scene, was amazing. I think that was one of the things that really, like, any of the shortcomings as far as the plot or whatever, maybe overlooked, is because of the acting.
Yeah,
like
100%.
He just did such an amazing job.
Yeah, and not just and like you said, Ethan Hawke was great. I think the girl who played Layla was great.
Yeah, she was amazing too. I really liked her.
Yeah, and like all the scenes with like his parents and whatnot was really good. And I think it's just I just think I think the only Disney Plus show where I was even WandaVision, there was issues with the ending. Like, they're just so bad at ending. And you even making this joke where it seems everybody's bad at endings nowadays.
Yeah, the Captain America, or the Winter Soldier Falcon one of the worst endings out of all of them.
Yeah. Hawkeye, I despise. Like, that was the worst ending of all time.
It was just, they just don't know how to wrap up.
Yeah. It's so weird, but
And you'd think, like, I mean, I can understand it when it's in an hour-long movie, and then you get to the end of the movie, and it's like, oh, that kind of wrapped up in a way that I didn't really like. You're in a limited series that's literally 6 hours long.
Yeah, you have
How
so
can
much
you
time.
not wrap it up properly?
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, and like you said, the end credit scene, although the one thing I don't understand about the end credit scene, and maybe you can justify it for me, was the point of them putting a mitt into Ethan Hawke's body was to take him out of the equation.
Yeah.
Because the way they kind of made it look at the end was that he was, brain dead and comatose and whatnot. But then when Jake Lockley goes to go grab him, he was completely like, hey, what's up, guys? It's me, your boy, Ethan Hawke. Which I don't know what his character's name is, but, anyways. He was sane. So it's like, but the point of it was to subdue it, but then he's like, he's still fine. Well, so it's like, what? But then he kills him, so it's like, whatever. But.
Yeah, I mean, again, I guess we'll have to wait till season 2.
Yeah.
Which is probably coming. But it also, like, I got the impression, like, when he was going to kill Ethan Hawke at the end of the movie, and then he held off, like, there was, like, a point to not killing him. I mean, I guess other than just proving that he's, not a murderer.
Yeah.
But Jake Lockley, I guess, look, the way they're going to portray Jake Lockley is Jake Lockley, definitely a murderer.
He's down.
He's down for it. But I just, again, it was just a series that, like, I enjoyed because it had really good acting. It had, it had the usual Marvel formula that's always there. It's the same crap, different color. But it was I think it was what did it for me was just the acting and then just the difference in the characters and the way that they worked that whole thing through.
The whole episode where they're talking about the reason why he has a split personality, like his relationship with his mom, man, that was amazing. Like,
it was great.
And like him learning, like, and it's not even just the fact that he like learns why he has Steven, but then also for Steven to go like, hey, you were a kid. Completely understandable. Like you did the best you could with what you had. Like, you're forgiven type of thing was so deep and nice type of thing. So I do think, like, I do rank it in the Disney Plus shows higher. I would probably put it as my number 2 is where I would probably rank it. Like, I put WandaVision still number 1. I'd probably put Moon Knight number 2 for me.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be in my top 3.
Okay. With Loki type of thing?
Loki's number 1 still.
Yeah.
I loved Loki. Just the chaos of it was just so much fun.
Which that season 2 I'm looking very forward to. So.
But Moon Knight may be as high as number 2. Definitely 3.
Okay.
Definitely 3.
Which is pretty good. For the, I mean, it's been a whole year and a bit of Disney Plus shows. So they've gotten a lot out, and there's more coming. So that's interesting, which we'll talk about in the future.
Yeah.
So the next big thing that happened, unfortunately, I wasn't involved with, so you'll have to kind of take the lead on this. You actually went to a fan expo.
I did.
Yeah. When was the last time you'd been to one?
Oh, the pictures on Facebook. Thank you, Facebook, for reminding me when these things happened. 2018.
Wow, 4 years.
4 years.
That's crazy.
So we had gone down for actually for my birthday. My whole family went. Which was a surprise to me. Nobody told me that everybody was going to go, and everybody went.
Oh, nice.
Which was a lot of fun. But in 2020, we were going down because I was going to finally get the opportunity to meet Jim Lee. Get some stuff done, and we were also going to see The Hobbits.
Yeah.
The unexpected reunion, and then of course COVID hit, and it got canceled, and then they actually did one last year. but it was like fully masked, and of course there was like very limited vendors and everything else. Like, so we didn't go to that one. This one again, the Hobbits were coming back. And I was like, I'm not going to miss this. You know, FYI to everybody, huge Lord of the Rings Tolkien fan. So I had to go see them. My wife also big Tolkien fan, so we went and saw that. It was amazing. Like the show we went to see, The Unexpected Reunion, was amazing. Like it felt like sitting. It felt like they were at dinner, catching up, and you were at the table.
That's awesome.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah,
and
this is what you want.
So many good stories they would tell, and you could just tell the camaraderie and the joking between them, that there was like an honest, like friendship, brotherhood there. And then they did a couple things where they brought up like behind the scenes photos that were taken.
That's so cool.
And they would be like, "Oh, tell us what was happening here at this point." And they would, express that. And then they did a little game where they said like, "How well do you know each other?" kind of thing. And they did that thing, and that was a lot of fun. But the top of the entire evening, the capper was at the very end. They had Billy Boyd play the song that he wrote for The Hobbit.
Really?
And he played it live, played the guitar, and it was just such a fitting end to the evening. Yeah. It was great. We went and got photos with them and everything. Unfortunately, they were, they're all doing the old plexiglass between you and them and crap now.
Which they gotta do.
I understood, but again, it was something that they weren't really keen on, like really, plastering over, letting you know that that's what was going on.
Oh yeah.
Like we didn't really find that out until we were at the Comic-Con.
Oh.
So it was like okay, well that's not, and the price of everything, it was, it just,
they got to make up for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the overall Comic-Con itself, like there was, I'm gonna say if you're a manga fan, it was probably a great con because there was just so much manga.
Yeah.
Like just so much manga. And there's so many, I would say it was primarily dominated between manga and cosplay because there was so many people dressed up. And then manga was definitely the vendors of choice were selling manga like crazy.
They know what makes money.
Yeah, it was unfortunately smaller than what I had experienced previously in the past. And again, that's just, it's going to take some time for them to get ramped back up to where they were. The guests were, they were okay. I mean, you had the Hobbits, obviously. Jay and Silent Bob were there.
Which is cool, yeah.
A couple other people from Clerks. Michael Rooker was there. They had a couple of people from, Star Trek and whatnot. I got to meet Carrie Payton, who I just absolutely love. Obviously from, I watched The Walking Dead, but not my favorite character he plays. He actually voices Cyborg on the Teen Titans.
Oh, really?
Which, again, not my favorite character. He also played with the cast and crew of Critical Role, a character that he had in that, and Jocasta. And that was the character that... so I went up and I met him, and he was just, so awesome.
That's awesome.
But they had a couple, there were some mainliners and a couple other kind of throw-ins, and it's again becoming more of an entertainment con because you had, a bunch of people from Cobra Kai there, and you had a bunch of people from, the Trailer Park Boys were there, and...
Yeah.
So it's definitely becoming that, but what was unfortunate was just from the vendor side of things, a lot of them were pointed at manga, and whereas before even though I went and I'm comics and maybe that person's manga and maybe that person's horror or whatever, there was enough there to keep you completely satisfied, and that's the one thing I found was lacking this time. Is it was if you wanted Funko Pop,
every booth.
Wow, I've never seen so much Funko Pop being sold.
That's insane.
It was just crazy.
Yeah.
So it was unfortunately very limited on that side. The other building had the artists, which usually they put the artists around the outside, and then a lot of the kind of local commissioned people that do stuff. Crafts and whatnot that are related to, whatever genre of stuff you're into. But it was weird because we were walking through it at one point and I was like, oh, there's a booth with leather jackets. And I was like, Leather Jackets. I was like, I don't know, is this like a manga thing or is it like I didn't understand, and I went over. No, the guy just bought a booth and was selling leather jackets there, and it's like, what are you doing in an entertainment con with leather jackets?
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
that aren't like, there weren't any that were like, oh, this is the leather jacket that so and so wore.
Like
this
Wolverine
is
or something
or Ghost Rider's leather jacket or something like. It was nothing like that. It was just like, no, this is just the leather jacket.
That's so weird.
It was really weird. So, unfortunately, just it wasn't as big as I had expected, but it was still a lot of fun to go and get back into the.
How was the vibe? Like, was a lot of people like just excited to be there? Like, oh, we're back again.
Saturday was just a gong show. Like, I honestly only went down there for about 2 hours because there were just so many people crammed in there, and coming off of COVID. And everything else, like, it was just I still had a little bit of like, okay, like I don't mind crowds. I don't want to be packed in here like a sardine because that's what it felt like. So I only went down for a couple hours on Saturday and then left. But the Friday show, was still busy, but not
the main one.
Not crazy. Sunday, same thing, kind of busy, but not crazy. And everybody was just, the vibe was just like everybody was just happy to be
outside
at a con, so it was good. It was good.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you got to go. I'm very itching to go to one myself. So, so a bunch of questions for you. For the Hobbit one, was there anything that you learned that you were like, I never would have guessed this in a million years from their like behind, like, is it like something like, oh, Frodo loves, pineapple or something, like something random that they brought up that you never would have guessed?
They talked about, like I said, they talked about food and everything else, but what really kind of threw me off was they had said that the reason why they call it an unexpected reunion, because the four of them have not been together on stage or anywhere in 10 years.
Wow, that's surprising.
So, which was shocking to me. I was like, what, really? 10 years? Yeah, and they said, like, we've been like 2 of us at a location, or maybe even as many as 3 of us at a location, but all 4 together doing this, and apparently they're doing it across Canada. They haven't been together in 10 years.
Wow. You know what's funny? I actually listened to a podcast with Merry and Pippin, and they were talking about how over the pandemic they play a video game I play called League of Legends.
Yes.
It was so funny to listen to them talk about it because they were like, they started talking about like, oh man, we got to hit up Elijah Wood and Sam, and like, his name's not Sam, but got to get them together and learn League of Legends.
Yeah, Sean Astin just refused.
Yeah.
Sort of like he was kind of like, I don't know, but Elijah Wood plays video games, so he's like, oh yeah, I was kind of and they were actually, they brought that up on stage and they were like picking at him like, you gotta come and play,
That's so funny.
It was just a really, really fun fun evening to hear them talk and go over kind of like how they auditioned for the show and how they all met and some of the fun trips that they took up and down the mountains and all kinds of stuff like that. But it was, I was, both my wife and I were like, oh, that was the highlight. Like, it was just amazing.
Oh yeah. So talking about, like you were saying, that it seems like, the manga invasion and whatnot. Do you think it was just one of those things where it's just there's such a low market for regular comics, or just the comic book people just didn't show up? Like, I guess you wouldn't really know, but like,
yeah, I like,
because I don't know where else they would go, because usually comics and expos used to be the place,
Yeah, like, I mean, I know a couple of comic book stores that are down there that weren't at the Comic-Con.
Really?
But there was Red Skull, but Red Skull was mostly focusing on basically like statues or figures kind of stuff. There was one guy that comes up from Quebec that sells like back issues like crazy.
Yeah.
So I dropped a lot of money there with him. But like usually there's like that guy. There's usually like, I'm gonna say like 2 or 3. Not maybe as big as him because he always has the biggest selection, but usually 2 or 3 people that have like decent sized selections. But it was just ridiculous. And then some of the pricing that I saw on stuff, like there were comics that I was looking at and I was like, I remember grabbing that off the shelf at the convenience store. And they're like, and I'm like, and you want $900 for it? Like the most expensive one I saw there was $7,200.
Wow, what was it?
I can't even remember.
You just looked at the price and just blacked out?
Like, I mean, some of the stuff there was just, it was just so overpriced and based off of like you would not believe the amount of Moon Knight comics I saw.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times like you'd be looking for an issue or something, like a back issue of Avengers, and you're looking for it and you're like, what the hell, there's like this missing one, and then you'd see it up on their special wall with a jacked up price because it had Moon Knight.
Yeah. Because they know it's popular right now. Yeah, 100%.
And it's like, I don't want the issue because of Moon Knight. I want it because it's part of the collection.
Yeah. That's so funny.
It was just it was unfortunate that way, but yeah, the comic side of things was just not.
That's so weird to me.
Not as
prevalent.
Yeah,
it's so weird because I understand. Like, I completely expect manga and anime to be more and more mainstream.
Yeah,
completely expect that. But I also expected comics to keep up with them in the sense of like, MCU's the biggest franchise of all time, you know, type of thing. Like, you expect them to also have the comic side, at least graphic novels or something. You know?
Well, I remember going to these to the Comic Cons, and it was like this particular Comic Con, and it was a Comic Con.
Yeah.
And then they changed it to the Entertainment Expo. But I remember going there, and I mean, I had a probably like 45-minute conversation with Mark Waid.
Wow. Yeah.
I talked to Wheels Partaccio, one of the artists. He did X-Men for a while. He went away and Image and did Wet Works and stuff. He's come back and done like some covers and stuff like that. But we talked to him and probably talked to him for well over an hour.
Wow.
On a Sunday, and he told us about all these like ideas they had been pitching at the time for X-Men, like about like storylines and stuff like that. Like, you just don't have those people, like, at least recently that I've seen, you don't have those level of people showing up anymore.
Yeah. I'm just curious, like, where are they going? Because it's like, if you're not going to the expo, I guess
they're
not
just going to that. Maybe they're selecting to go to like New York Comic Con,
the bigger ones,
where
there's more of a fan base.
But I mean, the Calgary one is a pretty big one in Canada. Like, and it's really well done.
Yeah.
I would just say, like, from my perspective, it was just with this one. It was just like, I think it's just like a post-COVID kind of the baby step to get back to rolling.
The manga nerds were there in force. They're like, we don't care about COVID.
Oh yeah, well they could be there in force because most of their costumes have masks. So, but no, it was like the manga was just crazy and which is great. Like, I'm glad to see that it's taken off because I mean there was a time when I went there and it was like barely any manga. There might be like some small vendor in the corner, you know, hawking books. But now it's gotten to the point. But to see like it take over that much
real estate,
So I mean, I was looking at it and going like, well, I remember coming in here and there was like a giant section for video games. And there was a giant section for people that like horror or different genres of movies and stuff.
That's so weird to me. You think,
just weren't there.
Because you think, in my mind, everybody would want to be like chomping at the bit to get back out there. So
in some cases they may have folded.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Over the last couple of years. So hopefully it continues to grow and you know, hopefully they don't completely kill off the comic book industry because I mean it's still vibing. I mean there were still, you know, people that were there selling comics. There were still a lot of people at those vendors looking at comics.
Apparently $200 for a comic.
yeah. I didn't go anywhere near that.
Yeah. So seeing all the manga and anime and whatnot, did you get like tempted? Like maybe I'll check it out. No, it's still hard.
Not even an instant.
We'll get there. So what was your best find that you got there?
Ooh, best find. I found the majority of the. Which of course the guy gashed me for.
Yep.
Because he knew what he had.
He knew what he had.
Yeah. But I found the Incredible Hulk original Volume 1 series. I found all but one of the issues drawn by McFarlane.
Wow.
So I grabbed all those, and of course my wife was like, you know, like, oh, it's your birthday, so I'm just gonna hold off and wait till the Comic Con, and then if you find something, I'll buy it for her. It was like, oh, that's kind of cheating. Like, just buy me something and run the risk of me, you know, liking it or not, you know, like everybody else does. And but anyways, as we were wandering around, I actually found the original Volume 1 in amazing condition. Volume 1 Wolverine 4-part series where he's in Japan.
Oh, what?
I got all 4 issues in, like, I'm talking like pristine near mint condition.
That's amazing.
For $200.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So that was my big, like, I don't think this person really knows what they got.
Yeah, that's insane.
Especially considering the condition they were in.
Yeah, if they just looked on eBay, you know, they would have jacked that up.
That was easily the biggest find.
That's awesome. Wow, that's so cool. Other question. So you mentioned you kind of mentioned the cosplay. When I went to Edmonton Expo a couple times, there was always like, you could tell when a big movie had come out or like something like that. It's like every other cosplayer was this. For the first one I went to was Mad Max Fury Road. Every other person was from Mad Max Fury Road. Was there one that was like standout for cosplay that like
funny enough, no.
Really?
Like,
it was a good mix?
And probably because mostly I don't follow manga. There were a couple costumes I reckon I was like, okay, I've seen a couple people dressed like that. Yeah. There were still some people running around dressed as Sailor Moon.
Hey man, never gonna end.
It's never gonna end.
Those are lights.
But as far as like Marvel costumes and stuff, or even DC costumes, like, you know, like of course you're gonna see your odd Batman and whatnot. There was a lot of Star Wars, a lot of Mandalorian.
Yeah. That would be my guess.
Mandalorian and Boba Fett for the Star Wars was like the costume.
Number ones, yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, and then you had your ones like where we're walking around, and my little nephew, who my brother creatively made him a because he loves Transformers.
Yeah.
So he had a gray Decepticon hoodie.
That's awesome.
So he's like, which kind of looked like Megatron, like the old Megatron.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh okay, so he built him a helmet out of cardboard and like duct tape.
That's awesome.
So and then gave him that, and then, you know, strapped a cannon to his arm and stuff. And he went down there and he was just like, I want to see, you know, anybody that's a Transformer. And I saw one and I was like, oh, I think there's Starscream over there. So it was like, oh, okay. So we go wading through the crowd and we get up there, and unfortunately it was sexy Starscream.
Oh no!
So I mean, he was still like, he didn't register that. He's at that age where he's just like, oh, Starscream.
Yeah.
But I was like, that's sexy Starscream. Like,
who does think looks at Starscream as like?
I don't know,
hey.
but then I mean, that's the thing. Like walking around, there was that was another thing that you saw. Yeah. It was just like people were taking that like, oh, you know, apparently Starscream has a very nice midriff. You know, like it was just it was you know, Halloween, it's just what you expect to see. There was some steampunk kind of stuff that was there. But I would say, like, overall, it was like freaking Halloween. Yeah. Like, a lot more people than I was expecting. Like, and I'm going to say they were pushing probably over 50% of people were dressed up.
Wow, that's crazy.
Like, it was crazy.
Yeah. Because I remember in Edmonton, it was a good chunk, but it wasn't 50. Like, it was like probably 30 or something like that. But yeah, I mean,
so many people.
And people had a lot of free time, you know. And just like, gotta build a costume. I always joke like I really want to try cosplay at least once, you know. Just
I mean, it would be like a fun thing if I could find, I don't know, maybe you know, it just depends on the timing and whatnot, but you could, I'm sure, depending on the genre, there were more of certain characters there because people were just like, oh yeah, that's what's going on right now. But it was just like there were so many costumes.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm glad there was a diverse. Yeah. I'm glad there was I'm itching to go to one. It was a lot of fun. I mean, one of my favorite things is like you kind of said, like the smaller artists, like the local artists.
Yeah.
And because like a lot of those people you can just go up to and be like, hey, I love your art.
Amazing work.
Amazing work. Can't believe you're just a local person, type of thing. But then a lot of them will do commissions, and you can be like, oh yeah, I love this character. If you could do it like this type of thing, and they're really nice to work with, and they have some really cool stuff. Like my wife and I were going through a lot of our like keepsake boxes and whatnot. We had like 2 boxes that were just, custom art from like the expo type of thing. It was awesome to see again and go through. So yeah, I'm definitely itching to go back. I've never been to the Calgary one. I've only ever been to the Edmonton one.
I would definitely recommend it. They do an outstanding job, and I would say like even in a down year like this, I think there's a very valid reason for it, but it was still great. It's still good time.
Good. I think that's the nicest part about the expos is even if you're not like there to go buy the $7,200 comic book, or you're not there with your cosplay you spent too much money on type of thing, just being in a group of your people, of nerds and geeks, a lot of times just reinvigorating and nice to be around. Because I remember that was another thing is like even my wife, who at the when we first got together and went to the Edmonton one, it wasn't like she's nerdy but not like huge nerd. Even she found like, oh look, Charmed, like even she found her people and her stuff, right? Like there's something for everybody. It's amazing.
Yeah, so. Lots of Harry Potter people.
Yeah, they're coming back.
It's coming back.
Woodworks. Yeah, so that's awesome. So moving into our final main topic of the Super Spring 2022 recap, we're going into Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So before we get into the details of the movie...
Yeah. Spoiler.
Yeah, we're definitely going to spoil the crap out of this one.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts going in?
Going in, I was hyped to see some very psychedelic crap.
Yeah.
I was trailer bedamned. I was looking forward to seeing some kind of connection, surprise, kind of to like direction as to like where is the Marvel universe going in this next phase of stuff.
Yeah. What were your thoughts when you heard Sam Raimi was in charge? Because obviously Sam Raimi, famous Spider-Man.
I was not optimistic.
No. So, but you've said like you liked the first Spider-Man movie, right? Or like, did you like him at the time? And then
I liked him at the time because I think just watching how they managed to do like Spider-Man swinging through the city with like the special effects level compared to like the last time you saw them try to do something like this was just like, and then even comparing that to like the X-Men movies that had just come out, it was like just so far beyond. I hated the Green Goblin, like not the actor. I hated the costume. I thought it was goofy as hell. And yeah, it was like the movie was like like it was but it was Spider-Man. It was like I think it was just because it was so new and fresh and like you hadn't seen this level of special effects before. It was just like it was I thought it was better than what it was.
Yeah. Which is fair. I feel like a lot of people kind of had that. I actually recently rewatched all the Sam Raimi ones because we were prepping for No Way Home. So my wife and I anyways, and so we watched them. I was actually surprised because I remember in my head how cheesy they were. And they still were really cheesy. Yeah. Even outside of the early 2000s aspect of it, you could tell Sam Raimi's such a fan of like 60s and 70s era Spider-Man, and he was just pulling that as much as possible. But I will admit the one thing I like the most about Sam Raimi's original trilogy, it did have a lot of heart. And and he always had a point of like, my character's going to start here and he's going to end here by the end of it. And even if it's a bit of a cheesy jumbled mess in the middle, you still get that character arc throughout the movies. I mean, obviously the third one was just a mess because of the producing.
In all honesty, it was probably because of the production. Yeah. People getting in there and going, oh, you got to shove all this crap in there because
you shove Venom in there. Yeah. So I've even heard an interview with Sam Raimi where he said, I'm not a Venom fan because when I was a kid, he didn't exist. One of those things where they forced, because Venom was popular in the 90s and early 2000s, they forced him to put him in there. And because he had no idea who the hell Venom was, it was even more of a mess than it already was type of thing. So anyway, I looking forward into Doctor Strange Multiverse. I was pretty hyped. Like
I was more hyped than I should have been.
Yes. I hated Doctor Strange in No Way Home. I thought he was terrible terrible in that movie, but the end credits of showing him with the first trailer of like, man, things are crazy. You had like evil Doctor Strange, and you had he wanted to help him. You had America freaking Chavez coming into the movie. Like, I was really hyped for this movie because again, it's one of those things with the problem I think Marvel has is the potential with it was so much greater than whatever they could think of, type of thing. And like I said, I was also excited because Scarlet Witch. I loved WandaVision. I was really curious as to see what they were going to do with the character. So I'll go first because I know how you kind of feel. So I'll let you go after me. But I didn't hate it. I don't think it was amazing. I think it was like, mid to low ranking if you're going to rank it all. Right. I think the big things I pulled away from it were, again, he not for Wanda, but for Doctor Strange, he had this is where I'm going to have my character, like, what are his problems he's facing in the beginning of the movie, and where do I want him at by the end of it? And it was like a decent arc of him going like, maybe I do need to let go a little bit and try to move forward with my life. Really weird way to get there of turning into a zombie and fighting with music, type of thing. But, he got there in the end. Yeah. I think the other nice part about it was seeing Wanda go crazy was just satisfying in the sense of like when she just started bopping the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Like nobody saw that coming, because again, not only was it the fact that like nobody thought that Wanda would do that based on what her character had been doing the last couple of years, but the fact that they let him go that dark was such a surprise for me. I feel like the reason why this movie to me stands out and I like it more than like say Shang-Chi or Eternals is because at least it was somewhat different. Because they I feel like what I was expecting to happen was they got Sam Raimi in. They're going to have, some Sam Raimi isms, but they're going to rein him in the MCU threshold, type of thing, which they do with every other director they've done since Phase 2 or 3 when they had like, Dark World and Iron Man 2, which were shit shows. So I thought that's what they're going to do. But they literally, I think Kevin Feige was like, hey, it's my old friend Sam Raimi. Here's the reins. Do whatever the hell you want with it. And man, did he do whatever the hell he wanted with it and went a little bit nuts. So even though I don't think it was a super great movie, I think at least it had its own flavor to it that made it stand out from some of the more blander Marvel movies. And like, I think my biggest issues with it is just Wanda. I don't understand why they didn't just do an alternate reality evil Wanda. Like all they had to do was just Doctor Strange go up to regular 616 Wanda or whatever you want to call her and go like, hey, I need your help, but then either have her be switched with an evil Wanda or then they go fight an evil Wanda. I think would have solved so many of his problems of people hating him. Also, I hate what they did with America Chavez. She's so cool in the comic book. She's so self-reliant, independent. Again, sorry, terrible for podcast. Independent, amazing power set, amazing storyline, all this stuff. And then they just turned her into MacGuffin. And a little bit at the end, that was kind of the point of Doctor Strange saying, like, it's up to you to fight Wanda type of thing. It was kind of trying to say, like, it's your turn to take the reins type of thing. It just came off so condescending and so whatever. And it's such a shit thing for her character, and I think they did. So yeah, that's kind of my more positive leading review of Doctor Strange Multiverse Madness. What do you think, Dave?
I thought it was an entertainingly bad movie. And I went in with like, it was one of those movies I went in with certain expectations, not as far as like being entertained or certain, like, it was just expecting certain things to happen. It wasn't, I wanted to see all the X-Men, or I want, like, none of that crap that you were seeing on YouTube, which I'm just absolutely sick and tired of those. Just
dude, they take it to the nth degree.
Like leeches. Like they have nothing better to do and no talent. I'm sorry, I'm going to say that right now. Not that, I've got much better. Are you sorry? But the fact that they just hype shit, shit up. I was just expecting, like, just plot wise, like, how is this going to connect to the movies going forward, as far as like Kang or like who the big bad is. Like, is it going to be Annihilus? Is it going to be Galactus? Is it going to, like, just something? And that didn't happen.
No.
And that was the big letdown for me, because I just kept waiting. Like, it could have been just a 5-minute part, and I would have been like, I'm sedated, I'm fine, I feel good now. It just wasn't there. I have to say, some of the dialogue was some of the worst written dialogue I've ever heard in a movie. Like Wong is struggling to contain the Scarlet Witch. Yeah. And this is when Stephen Strange decides, I'm going to have like a 5-10 minute conversation with Chavez about how I believe in you.
Yeah.
And like, what the F is this? You just signed Elizabeth Olsen to a 7-year contract with Marvel Studios, and then you, quote unquote, air quotes flying all over the place, kill her at the end? Whatever. Yeah. The very beginning of the movie, I'm coming to you, Wanda. Hey, can you help me? Oh, well, yeah, I could, except I'm the bad guy. You knew that within the first 10 minutes of the movie. Yeah. There was no suspense, no thrilling. It was just, I'd heard people describe it as like, oh, it's kind of like Marvel's first kind of horror movie. I was like, there was one element when she was kind of chasing after them. Yeah. Or trying to get into not the sanctum, but the... where they were hiring her, where she was kind of trying to come through the water.
Yeah, the mirror dimension.
Like, that was kind of Sam Raimi horror kind of thing. Yeah. But other than that, I was expecting, like, when people were like, this was like a kind of a horror, I was expecting some like twisted, really messed up crap, and it was just fluff.
Yeah.
The Illuminati was a joke. was a joke. They literally introduced Mr. Fantastic as the smartest man in the universe, and then they just get owned in like no time flat.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so bad. Yeah. It's like they just went, oh, we're going to introduce this Illuminati, and then they're probably going to go like, oh, well, there's another Illuminati. Dumb. But they threw it in there, and then it was like they were like, okay, well, we want to do a little bit of fan service, but we don't want to really throw it out there. So how do we like take it back? Oh, we'll just have Wanda kill them all.
The hardest commitment you can make, you know?
Yeah, it was just, for me, it was just like, and I didn't understand the arc for Wanda. Like, you get out of WandaVision, she just kind of come to terms with what she did in the thing, and I could kind of understand the Darkhold kind of corrupting her a little bit. But by the time you meet her, she's just like, literally says like, oh, well, actually, I'm the bad guy. Oh, by the way, if you don't hand over Chavez, I'm going to like, just kill you all. Yeah. I was like, what the hell? And then the rest of the movie was just flat because like you knew who the bad guy was in the first 10 minutes. And then it just felt like a car chase without a car, trying to keep her away. People were like, oh, it's dimension hopping. They went to like 2 places.
Yeah, they had the one transition scene where they went to like, you know, the paint planet or whatever.
But whatever. It was just like as far as if I would have went in going like, okay, this is just a standalone movie or it's within the Doctor Strange arc, I probably would have felt a little bit better about it. Mm-hmm. But just feeling like, okay, these are the movies that are coming out. This is what they did in the first phase where they kind of hinted at stuff, and there was like they would hint the Avengers, and you were like, ooh, the Avengers. There was nothing. There was just nothing.
I feel like what happened, because apparently they had somebody else who was supposed to do Doctor Strange 2. Mm-hmm. I can't remember who it was, but he had to back off. I feel like what happened, because Kevin Feige and Sam Raimi worked together on the first Spider-Man movies, I feel like Kevin was really just like, hey, my old buddy Sam, I heard you need work, you know, type of thing. And like, you know, you can do whatever you want because I love you, type of thing. Completely negating the fact that the whole point of Kevin Feige is to make sure everything flows. Yeah. You know, he just kind of like blinded by his love for Sam Raimi. It was like, go nuts type of thing. And he went nuts. I think it was funny. Like I said earlier, it's very interesting because of the fact that it was nice that it was slightly different. Mm-hmm. It had that early 2000s cheese. Yeah. You had the Danny Elfman. Like, the second the music started, I was like, that's fucking Danny Elfman right there. It's the most Danny Elfman score of all time type of thing. So, and like, you kind of had that reminiscent of the old movies and whatnot. But again, it's just one of those things where it's like, they've done it before where they've taken directors with a flavor and had them fit in MCU. Yeah. Taika Waititi, the Russo brothers, and they fit perfectly well into that. It just felt like to me they were just like, yeah, Sam, do whatever you want. And then and he said, and this is the thing, I was fine with the movie until I heard this. He never watched WandaVision.
No.
Before this movie. Are you kidding me? You're telling me the MCU is supposed to be this amazing interconnected puzzle piece, and you just threw out half the puzzle without.
The 2 things I'm going to say. Number 1, they've lost it.
You think so?
I think Marvel's lost. They've lost
since Endgame.
They lost whatever they had. They've completely lost it, and it's unfortunate because they haven't managed to evolve. They just keep trying to produce the same shit over and over and over again. Now, is it entertaining? Yes. Like, I would not say to anybody, like, don't go see it. It was entertaining. It was funny. It had its marks. And, like, it wasn't the best, written movie. But, like, the special effects were amazing. Yeah. Like, you were expecting. Like, that's just what Marvel movies have, we'll just bludgeon them to death with CGI. and they'll love it.
We got the budget.
Like, they've got it there. Like, but just from an enjoyment standpoint of, like, what the universe is and could be, as you kept saying, it was just such a flop for me. And the thing that killed it the most, and I have to contain myself here.
Okay.
Is the part where they were in the cages, and he was talking to he was talking to his lover in another universe who now wasn't his lover. And she said, you're from the 616 universe.
Yeah, that's such horseshit.
I heard that.
Yeah,
and I was like, I think they made a mistake.
Yeah.
So I went online, and I was like, she could, maybe I heard it wrong. Nope, didn't hear it wrong. So then I went and I found an interview by Kevin Feige. And Kevin Feige is like, yeah, because it's the 616 universe and it's the main universe. And I feel like this is such an FU to comic book fans. Yeah. To the point where I actually was sitting back and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to keep collecting.
Really? You think it's that egregious?
It was that insulting to say that the MCU is the main universe. Like, this is the main... Like, Kevin Feige, you piece of shit. You trash bag. You come in, and they should be... Like, every single one of these movies that's come out, they should go and find the writers that they ripped off from the comics and just start showering them in cash.
Oh, yeah.
Because these guys are making so much money off of other people's ideas. It's ridiculous. And then for him to turn around and say this is the main universe and confirm that it's 616 when it's been 616 was the comic, that's where it comes from. I just blew my top.
You're about to throw out your Marvel Unlimited
it's like absolutely like ridiculous. And the fact that the way he addressed it just felt like anybody, like the comics didn't mean anything. No. What drives the Marvel Universe is this thing we've only been doing for 20 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what drives the Marvel Universe.
Not even at this point. It's only been 10,
you giant piece of garbage.
Like, yeah, that makes no sense to me. Literally, the whole point of numbering the universes is to establish what's canon and what's not in whatever. The fact that you're saying MCU 616, like, what's the point then?
Well, you're now saying that, because there was always the main universe. Yeah. And, I mean, I very much enjoy a lot of the stuff that's in the, alternate universes, but you always knew, this was the main, canon universe.
Yeah.
But now you're saying the MCU is, which means the comic book universe is what?
Yeah. 616.5.
Is not canon?
Yeah.
Is not the thing that actually got the product that you're making right now to where it is?
Yeah.
It was just a slap in the face so bad. I was bad. Beside myself.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you think, I don't know why they would say that.
I don't know. Literally, all they had to say was it's 717.
Yeah, 615.
That's all they had to do. That's all they had to do. But any self-respecting comic book fan that didn't get upset hearing that, you're not a comic book fan.
You know what the other weird thing about that too is? The only people who would recognize it as an Easter egg are the people who would be pissed at it. It's not like they're doing that for the fans who are casual and only MCU fans. That means nothing to them.
Yeah.
It's the people who read comics.
It felt like it's hey, guess what? We made this movie.
Yeah.
Visually amazing. Entertaining. Mm-hmm. But we're going to gaslight you on a bunch of crap that's not going to happen. And then, guess what, you comic book fans? We're just going to up and kick you in the balls when you least expect it.
Yeah.
It was, I couldn't believe it. And I thought the end credit scenes, with the, was underwhelming with the, oh, I got the eye in my head. Who gives a shit? Well, and then Clea shows up, which was kind of neat to see, Clea show up. So I was like, okay, well, that'll be interesting for the movie I'm not watching. And then the second one, just to see
Bruce Campbell,
who I love Bruce Campbell, just beat the crap out of himself. And most people were like, oh, that was so funny. I was like, do you get the reference of what that was?
No.
That was Evil Dead.
Yeah.
Because he beat the shit out of himself in Evil Dead and then cut his evil hand off.
Yeah.
Right? And it was exactly like that. It was just him punching himself. So it was like a throwback to a Sam Raimi movie, right? But it was just a useless, it was, I would have said, have 3, throw them all in at the very end, just as a joke and a funny. But it was just a waste of time.
Well, even the third eye thing was so confusing to me. Because in the movie, the third eye represented evil.
Yes.
It was
and
evil
a corruption from...
And a corrupt Darkhold.
The Darkhold.
But even at the end of the movie, it was supposed to be oh, my life's getting back together. Oh no, I have the Darkhold third eye. That's bad.
But isn't the Darkhold destroyed?
Yeah, exactly. But then you hard cut to Clea being hey, I need your help. Third eye, no problem. Let's do this. And it's what? Yeah. You just contradicted your own end credit scene. That made no freaking sense. No. It was so confusing.
It was confusing, and it's I'm not going to say it was a bad movie. I was just disappointed because it just didn't land
Yeah.
anywhere near in the realm of what I was expecting.
And again, I think this is just Marvel at this point is just shooting itself in the foot of like
They don't know what I honestly
what
don't
they
think they know
could
what they're
do
doing.
will always be better than what they're actually going to do, and it's so weird. I don't know how they solve this. The only two times where it's been like there's no way they can pull it off, and then they pulled it off was Avengers 1 and Avengers Infinity War Endgame.
Yeah.
Where you're just like, there's no way they can pull this off. And then it's like, son of a bitch, they did it!
And not to say there weren't holes here and there, but for the most part it was like, wow.
I can't believe they did it.
I can't believe like you have these 22 or whatever movies that all slam together, and it's this entire Infinity Saga, and they pulled it off, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just, You know what I just realized, though, is like Phase 1, had established a bunch of stuff, and it was decent for what it was. Phase 2 is when they started downsliding. Phase 3 is when they brought it back up. And now we're into the even number Phase 4 again, and it's now downsliding a little bit. So maybe it's just even numbers are, cursed a little bit. But who knows? So talking really quick before we move on about the Scarlet Witch WandaVision of it all. So like I've even mentioned on this podcast, I love WandaVision. I think it's my favorite Disney Plus.
It was good.
I think the biggest issue I have with WandaVision is the end. Because you had Wanda who was dealing with trauma and who was dealing with the fact that people just wanted to use her powers for evil, and she just wanted to live her life, have a family, try to have love and stuff, where she does the bad thing and wrong thing of not corrupting, but mind controlling the entire town. And so theoretically, yes, you feel bad for Wanda because of what she's been through, but the reality is there was no consequences to her actions. No. She was able to do this, went, my bad, and flew away to a picturesque location type of thing.
Yeah.
So going into this, you even had in the trailers where, she says, hey, let's talk about Westview or whatever it's called, and Doctor Strange's like, I don't give a shit. Again, you're like, somebody needs to care about this. This wasn't great. But then you had the twist in the movie of like, oh, but she actually was fully corrupted and whatnot. I was okay with it to a point. Because I was like, okay, it makes sense that a character who did something bad but then wasn't punished continues to do something bad. Because it's like, without her actually learning the lessons of her whatever.
There was no consequences.
There's no consequences. Yeah. And you could argue, again, the Darkhold corrupted her and kind of played on that badness to accelerate it. The problem is, I feel like, again, they just went too far in her just blipping the Illuminati. Yeah. Like, if she had just beaten them up and subdued them, you could be like, okay. Yeah. Even when she was fighting the magic people on whatever it's called, Targamars, Cartarage or whatever it is. If she hadn't killed them, if she had just like made them run away or beat them up, I could have been like, okay, she's still holding back. There's still some redeemable factor to Scarlet Witch and Wanda. Yeah. They went full crazy. Yeah. Again, Sam Raimi doesn't give a shit. He was just like,
I'm making a movie.
And I want her to kill everybody. And again, it was fun seeing her kill everybody. But when you start questioning the idea of like, how are you going to redeem this? Because you're going to tell me she's just going to come back eventually and be like, hey guys, my bad. Like, it's like, you can't allow this to happen. That's insane. Yeah. And like, again, I feel like the easily, if you're talking multiverse, the easiest thing you could have done is just have this be an alternate dimension Scarlet Witch that was corrupted and fully like, yeah, I love being evil, let me do this, and come in and have real Scarlet Witch go like, hey, you're wrong, let me show you why.
And they could have played that up throughout the entire movie as a big mystery of like leaving you hints of like, oh, is it her that's doing it, or no, it's definitely an alternate universe one. No, maybe it is her that's doing it. They could have played that angle and then done exactly what you were doing, but no, like I said, I've never been in a movie, I've never seen a movie where they come and they're like, oh, hey, somebody's trying to come after this person. Like there's a potential for a mystery. They sent this big creature after her. Like we need some help, and she's like, oh. Sorry, that was me.
Yeah, I 100% thought. I know. I was so like didn't register at first. I thought, oh, it's Wanda and somebody. I thought it was like, oh, somebody else sent the monster. Like it was like Nightmare or somebody. But Scarlet Witch also wants America for her own reasons. But then when she realizes what the other evil person is doing, her and Doctor Strange will then join forces to like. She'll realize, oh, I gotta protect the kid, type of thing. Strange, but no, she's just straight up the bad guy who then randomly sent evil monsters after America Chavez. Yeah. Like it really doesn't make any sense. And like you said, like she has a 7-movie deal. How are they going to redeem this?
I don't know.
I guess just turn her into a villain for the rest of it too. Like,
Yeah, I don't know.
It blows my mind. Maybe what they'll start doing is like if they do the X-Men is like its own alternate reality, it'll just be like alternate reality Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
You know,
and,
I
and
guess.
at this point, like I left that movie and I was like, you know, I'm still looking forward to like Loki season 2 and a couple things, but I was just like, I really could care less about Guardians of the Galaxy coming out.
Oh, really?
I could really care like just in the sense of like that movie just left me feeling like I don't want to watch any more of this garbage.
Guardians is gonna be good.
It probably will because it'll be like at least you'll go and laugh your ass off.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same thing with Thor.
Yeah.
Love and Thunder probably looks. You know, it's probably going to be a very entertaining, fun movie. But I'm just like not hyped about where they're going right now because I just feel like their loss and my biggest fear is they're going to try and do some kind of Secret Wars thing.
Yeah.
And anybody who's a comic book fan that enjoyed Civil War and saw the scope of Civil War, and then saw the trash that they translated on the screen with like 5 people running at each other. It just looked so ridiculous, and it was such a impudent scale of what the actual comic book was. I feel and fear that that's what they're going to do with Secret Wars. It's just going to be at such a minute level. Yeah, it's just not going to matter.
100%. Like, it's going to be like, we're going to do Secret Wars, but the only alternate realities is MCU main, and then maybe, like, one other one. And that's
we'll
the Secret War.
Skrulls.
Well, even they hinted at the, with the Illuminati and the alternate dimension, what's it called again? Transversions or whatever it's called.
The incursions.
Incursions, yeah. They hint, which is the key point of Secret Wars in the comic book. So they hinted at it, so I guess it's already... in the works. I think to me it's a bit extreme to say like I'm not looking forward to Guardians and Thor, because to me that's a whole different side of MCU. That's like the space side, and to me I'm not looking forward to any of the alternate dimension stuff that they've been hinting at, because everything they've tried to do with the alternate dimension that they like, again, WandaVision, Loki, Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home all said they were doing alternate dimension stuff, and they've all let it down in the sense of what they could have done, other than Loki maybe. What they could have done ended up being nothing. So like the main one coming out eventually that's going to deal with alternate dimensions again is Ant-Man. Dude, I don't know if they're going to like, why would I understand that like people love Ant-Man because he's funny and Paul Rudd's great, but like there's no way he's a more important character than Doctor freaking Strange or Wanda.
Well, and at
like
this
come
point,
on.
it's like I believe it's been confirmed Bill Murray's going to be in...
Is he?
Yeah, I believe. He's going to be... And he's playing a character, and it's just like, at this point, I feel like, are you guys just making these movies just, like, because actors are putting their hands up and going, oh, I'll play a superhero with some tights?
Yeah.
You know, or a villain, or, you know, whatever. I don't know.
My wife said that about John Krasinski. So I marked out, because that's been the rumor for so long that he's going to be. So to me, it was like, oh shit, they did it.
That was probably one of the like, oh cool, that's good. Thank you.
But to somebody like my wife, who was just like, what? He just was bored, and they needed him to give him a position. Like, what was the point of this? Like, to her, it was nothing. Yeah. But to the bigger nerds, it was like, oh, an Easter egg.
But again, it was like thank God they confirmed somebody that everybody was universally in agreements for, and thank you. And I was thinking the whole time, I was like, oh, this is amazing. Oh, she turned him into noodles.
Like, she killed him in the most, like, at least Black Bolt got exploded. He literally just got... I will admit, though, I'm super sad how quick it was, but when the 90s X-Men theme played, when Charles Xavier turned the corner, dude, I lost my mind. That was so good. Again, Danny Elfman, you know, just take my money. But, and the way he died was so, like, that, again, it's weird that she was willing to kill everybody, but the way he died was pretty dope. But, it's just, like you said, at this point now, they just do whatever the hell they want and they get away with it, because we're still gonna, no matter what, we're gonna give them our money.
And that's the problem I think that they have with what's going on right now is you have these like just absolute diehard, I don't care what you produce fans that then turn, and I've seen it on like anybody that's given it like a legitimate criticism, any of the movies, they just jump on them and just beat them down and get them up. It's like, it's okay to criticize something that you enjoy. Like, I very much enjoyed Winter Soldier. Yeah. There were problems with Winter Soldier. but I very much enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know, Far From Home, very much enjoyed it. Or No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Very much enjoyed it. But in my opinion, it was a nostalgia injection. That's all it was.
Yeah.
You know, they basically redid a movie based on other people's movies of Spider-Man, and like all the villains, all the heroes, like it was just a nostalgia thing. It's okay to be critical of something, but to just go in and say like, "Oh, Doctor Strange? Oh yeah, 99 out of 100 on Rotten Tomatoes." Like, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Give your head a shake.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I'm just, that's what I mean. Like, I'm so sick of these movies getting hyped to the end, and like I said, there's a lot of it is because of like people jumping on the internet and doing, you know, YouTube things where they're just like completely unreasonably making shit up to get people hyped about stuff, and then they go and see it, and then they're just like, I know that there's people that probably left that theater going like, oh, it wasn't exactly as good as I thought, but I'm like a huge Marvel fan. It was amazing. You know, like be real.
Yeah, be realistic. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. That's the end of our Super Spring 2022 recap. So now we're going into the summer season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of movies slated for 2022. A lot of Disney Plus shows, a lot of HBO shows for DC's side, and you know, all the stuff in between. What are you looking forward to? What's got your eye?
A couple things. Comic book side, I'm looking forward to John Romita Jr. has come back to Spider-Man, where he belongs as far as an artist. So he's back. Zeb Wells is writing it.
What?
Yep.
What?
So that's awesome.
I'm not the biggest Romita Jr. fan.
I read the first issue and I'm like, I'm so confused about what's going on right now. I love it.
Okay, perfect.
It's so good.
I love Zeb Wells.
One issue in.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to what they're going to do with Daredevil moving forward after the Devil's Reign.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Judgment Day, the big event, to just see what that's you know all about. We'll see. Hopefully it's good.
It gives me a little bit vibes when they're trying to push in humans instead now they're trying to push Internals. I'm a little bit stop trying to force me to like things I don't like, you know, type of thing. But it could be good.
Yeah. I mean it's the big event. It's either going to be a complete shit show or decent.
Or good. Yeah.
Could care less about Ms. Marvel. After I watched the She-Hulk thing today, I just about fell out of my chair.
I was looking forward to She-Hulk. It sounded so cool. It looks like that was the worst. That was one of the worst trailers I've ever seen. Yeah. That was so. She looks like Shrek. Like what is that?
Yeah, it was bad. So I don't care about either one, and I'm not knocking Ms. Marvel. I don't really care for the character. Yeah. It's very popular. I hope it does well, but I just nothing about it appealed to me.
Yeah.
She-Hulk even less appealed to me.
Yeah.
So really, as far as the Marvel stuff, like as much as yes, I'm gonna go see Guardians, I'm gonna go see Thor. I'm looking forward to those movies because they've been entertaining and usually pretty good.
Yeah.
The track record at least. So Taiko's not got much of a track record. He's got like one.
He's got one. Yeah,
so
he's got one.
Hopefully he hits another one out of the park. But at least with James Gunn, he's got 2 movies. One that was really really good, and the other one that was good.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is just as good. But really, I mean, as non-comic book thing, the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is next week with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked for that.
I wasn't a big fan of Mandalorian, so I never got into that or Boba Fett, but I really want to watch Obi-Wan. It looks really good.
Yeah. I'm very, very hyped for that.
So for me, I didn't realize Thor was in July of this year.
Yes, of this year.
I thought it was next year for some reason.
Oh, yeah?
I missed the date. I was like, wait, when is it coming out? I was so surprised. And were you saying Guardians is this year? Or next year?
Guardians is 2023 or 2024, I believe.
Probably next year type of thing. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to Thor. I mean, obviously I love Ragnarok, probably my favorite MCU movie of all time. I'm worried because I love Gore, the Godslayer, and they're gonna Taika it, dude. Taika said it's the best Marvel villain of all time, which makes me worried because it's Taika and he's a huge troll.
Yes,
so it's like Gore's such a good character, and it's a good chance they're gonna make him goofy, and it's gonna ruin the whole character. If they pull a Hela, where it's like a dark serious character in a funny movie, then hey, that'll be great. I'm totally down with that. But yeah, if they make him goofy, I'll be so sad. But we'll see what happens. I'm super looking forward to see buff Natalie Portman beat up people. It'll be a good time. She-Hulk, worst trailer I've ever seen in my life. Miss Marvel, I like Miss Marvel. I find it weird that they changed her powers, especially considering in Doctor Strange they literally show Mr. Fantastic stretching. So it's like, you guys have done stretching a little bit, so I feel like even she's not stretching.
Yeah, it's because of the Inhumans thing.
Yeah, like they don't want to talk about
Inhumans.
They're
like, we made a really bad TV series and we want to forget it.
Yeah, don't acknowledge it exists.
What was it? We tried to crush the X-Men because we didn't own the property, and we tried to make the Inhumans the next X-Men, and everybody went, no. And then we were like, oh, okay, but we didn't learn, so then we tried it with the Eternals.
Yeah, we're still trying.
We're like, oh no.
Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. For actual comics and whatnot, this isn't this year. It's just something I recently discovered. So DC has a Black Label run going on right now, which is kind of like they took Vertigo and relabeled it DC Black Label, which is supposed to be their alternate dimension stuff. That's just a little bit more serious. Like, it's not like full on Watchmen, Sandman series, but it's a little bit serious. I read Batman White Knight because I was actually able to go to a comic book store for once. Is really good. This is it immediately jumped up as to one of my like top 3 Batman stories.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's really good. And apparently it's written and drawn by the same guy. And apparently he's done like 3 other ones. So he did the first one, which is Batman White Knight. Then he did the second one, which is Curse of the White Knight, and then he did Harley Quinn.
Okay.
And now he's doing Batman Beyond, which, hell yeah, give me more Batman Beyond type of thing. So I'm really looking forward to getting more and more into that. And apparently, the other podcast I listen to talks a lot about Black Label. A lot of the stuff they do is really good. So I'm really looking forward to getting more and more into the DC Black Label stuff. And yeah, for DC movies, the Batman was really good. Black Adam, it's The Rock.
You know what? I'll go see it, and it could be an absolute garbage fire, but I'm still going to be entertained because it's The Rock. I don't know what it is about that guy. he
shits money.
He's like Deadpool.
Ryan
Reynolds. It's the same thing. Like, I could go see it and was like, that was a horrible movie, but I thought Ryan Reynolds was awesome.
So you must have loved Red Notice.
It
was a terrible movie.
It was a terrible movie. He was great, and so was The Rock.
So was The Rock, and Gal Gadot wasn't bad,
But it was, but Sandman is another, like, the TV series that's coming out. I'm looking forward to that. I'll go see Black Adam, but other than that, I really don't care about what's going on over there. And apparently they're doing, I'm curious just to see what it's all about, but they're doing, they've done the Crisis on Infinite Earths, but now this one coming out is called Dark Crisis.
Ooh, interesting.
So, curious.
Yeah. They keep doing Crisis
All
events.
I saw was a wicked, awesome picture of the alternate universe, I don't know what Earth it is, Batman that's Bruce Wayne's dad.
Yeah.
With the red and stuff, and that was the cover of one of the issues.
Flashpoint Batman.
Oh, that looks awesome.
Yeah, Flashpoint Batman, which is really interesting. So yeah, no, lots of interesting stuff going forward. So we'll make sure to keep doing some podcasts as we go along. Make sure to follow us and let us know what you think in the comments. If you love Doctor Strange 2, let us know why. We're curious. Curious. No, feel free to fly your flag. No problem.
Yeah.
If you hated it like us, hey, let us know. Good times. And yeah, we'll see you all next time.
See you later.